Happy New Year. So you know what I'm gonna say. New Year, new. What's up, crew? Or if you're new to the channel, just Zay here, and today we're going to be going over a Law versus Kid matchup. But before we get into the details of everything like that, because it's a new year, I want to go ahead and say I hope that all your goals and affirmations for the year are phenomenal and that you accomplish every single one of them with a abundance of great energy and everything like that. And going back into what we're going to be talking about today, it's going to be, like I said, a Law versus Kid matchup. The biggest things with Law is that you're going to want to worry about that bouncing Law, the 5-cost Luffy, and the 3-cost Zoro. And then for Kid, obviously, you're worrying about Kid. That's really the most problematic card in that deck. And the great thing about this setup is that, shout out to Stevensons and Larry, the owner of Stevensons. He has hand cams for us, which is really, really great because it gives you a better knowledge and understanding of what people want to keep as far as in their hand, or, you know, during mulligans, or what's a good hand to keep, what's not, kind of thing. It helps out a lot as far as people's thought processes and matchups. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. And if you find this video helpful in any way, then go ahead and hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel for more updates coming from myself, and hit that notification bell so that you can see my ugly face pop up on your notification bar when I post a video. I don't know, maybe, no, yes, new year, I'm not gonna say it. Let's go ahead and get into it. Of the first day of the year, which was really, really great to be a part of for sure, and I loved the energy from everybody that day. It was super, super great. This is going to be round 1, Law versus Kid. Problematic cards you're going to see in Law is going to be that 5-cost Luffy, the Law blocker which bounces, and the Rush Zoro. In Kid, you're going to have that 8-cost Bad Boy, and most likely, I think the secondary to that would probably be there's really good options because a lot of things are switched around necessarily in that. But starting off, going turn 1, he has a really solid hand as a Kid player. He's going to play 1 for the Momonosuke and pass, which is really great. So just go ahead and play out that Searcher. Why not? You know, no one's going to be able to pop it exactly for sure. And then for Law, we're going to head and play the 1 for the Tony and the 1 for Nami to search off, which is a typical red play in general, especially going to second to a Kid. He's going to go ahead and add that Rush Zoro that we were talking about. And we're going to go ahead and see just what he does with that. Some Rush players with that Zoro want to go ahead and play that in a good state where there's no blockers on board. So we'll see if we see that in the next turn for sure. Going back to the Kid player, he has options here. Go ahead and attach 1 and swing to leader. He wants to see if that Law wants to get rid of that Tony, or he wants to save it. And he's actually going to get rid of it. Then he go ahead and follow up with a killer and pass. Going back to the Law player, like I said, he has options. He has another Nami, a Zoro, and what looks like a 5-cost Luffy. And he's going to go ahead and pay the 1 for the recyclable Nami. Go ahead and bring that to the Law, and then he plays the 3 for the Rush off rip. He wants to see if Kid wants to save that blocker, and he doesn't. He wants to go ahead and take the life, and he takes the life from Law as well, which is really interesting to see in the early game state for sure. Going back to the Kid player, go ahead and restand all that Dawn and the leader, and let's see what he has for the follow-up. One thing he wants to probably get rid of for sure is that Zoro, because it's just going to be super pesky and annoying, especially with the recyclable Nami on field. And he's going to go ahead and get 7 and put it to face of the leader, or not leader, I'm sorry, the Zoro, which he won't go ahead and get rid of. And he's going to go ahead and pay the 1 for the Bonnie. Okay, let's see if he wants to search off of that. And he doesn't. He just wants to pass. And it's very interesting for a Kid player to not search off of the Momonosuke or the Bonnie. But I think it makes sense, especially in a red-green, where it's like it's not very typical for that Law to wanting to get rid of those by resting it. I think it more so want to get rid of the blockers. He finally pays that 1 for the Nami that he's had in hand for a minute, and he has options. And he goes for the Tony, which is quite shockingly, because I think he should have gone for a Jet Pistol for maybe a follow-up. But, you know, hey, he does what he needs to, and he go ahead and plays out the Tony, wants to form that board really quickly, and he plays the Zoro. using the Nami, he goes and puts the attached Dawn to Zoro, swinging for 6 to face, to which he 2k counters in response, and he swings 6 again with Law, and he takes that life also, which is really, really interesting to be taking a lot of life, and he hasn't taken a single one from Law yet. So we go ahead and return back to the kid player, attaches all, that beautiful Dawn restead, resting 2 to play Nekomamushi to get rid of the Tony, which is a really solid move for sure. And he attaches this 7, so he can go ahead and get rid of that Zoro once more. Great play, attaching the 1 to Killer to go ahead and pull that draw off, and he passes. Really interesting to see how this plays out for sure. Go ahead and refresh stage, restanding everything back up, counting his down to make sure he's on point. And let's see what he wants to do, because he definitely has options. I think his best bet would probably be to go to the 5-cost Luffy, which he does for sure, having the 1 rested Dawn put onto Law, the 2 onto Luffy so he can get an unblockable swing onto Leader, to which he pump Gibsons and rest that Tony in response, which is a really good follow-up, so he can get rid of that Luffy in the follow-up turn, and he 2k counters that Law once more, and he passes, which is obviously pretty typical in this state. So let's see, refresh stage. Let's see what he wants to do in response, because he definitely has options now for sure. He's going to go ahead and Nekomamushi that Tony just to get rid of it, which I don't even blame him for sure. That leaves the field. Now let's see how he wants to get rid of the Luffy. He's going to go ahead and attach 8 to swing to Luffy, which is hard to counter back on, especially with 1 Dawn. You can tell that the Leader does not... The red-green Law does not have anything in response, especially with 1 Dawn attached. But he's going to go ahead and do the 1 for Bonnie, finally, which wants to see what else options he has for the rest of the turn. He has the Okiku and that search. What else did he grab from it? Let's see what he wants to get in response, because he seems like he has a pretty solid hand so far. He's probably going to get that Pump Gibson, yep, just to get that follow back, crack back on some whatever he wants to play. Putting the rest of the bottom, adding that Pump Gibson in the hand. He's going to probably keep 2 active for sure. Paying the 2 for the Killer. And I think he made a mistake as far as... No, everything's solid on his turn. Going back to the Law player, he plays a 3 for another Zoro. Okay, let's see what he wants to do follow up on. He's going to pay 1 for the 5-4 Law. Let's see what he's going to bounce back. He's most likely going to bounce back the Nami Searcher, yep, and probably play, yep, the Nico Robin. Now, honestly, I think it's going to go ahead and get rested for sure, considering what he has on board. And he does the recyclable Dawn onto Zoro, which gets Pump Gibson onto that Nico Robin. That's pretty expected, honestly. And then let's see what the Law wants to do in response. Swing 6 to face again. He's going to go ahead and Killer draw off of that, which is really, really good. And obviously he passes in that state with no Dawn active, which is really, really dangerous right now, for sure. So restanding everything, has the draw. He kind of made a mistake showing it, but I think at this point it's okay. It's fine. And he sees that Extra can honestly get rid of that Nico Robin immediately, but with no Dawn active for the Law player, I think it's going to be pretty typical. He can just attach anything and be perfectly fine. And he's going to go ahead and swing 6 to face, so he'd have to dish 3k to save Nico Robin, and I don't think it's really worth it. So he's going to go ahead and dish that. Then we rest the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Dawn, and finally we have the big boy kid coming out, and bam, drops the kid. And if a lot of people didn't realize, it's very interesting that he has the Penguin in hand, because if you didn't realize, Penguin can be played as a free blocker with Kid. So honestly, it's a really good combo because then it protects your Kid a lot more. And if you happen to have Dasachi, you'd be playing 2 for the price of 1. So it's really, really good. So he drops that 8 cost Kid to see how his opponent wants to respond and get over it. And he passes it to the Law player. Now Law has a lot that he would have to do to kind of get over this, especially with a blocker. But he's going to go ahead and search the top 5, probably searching for a Pump Gibson or something in response to get rid of it. He has that Zoro, he has that Beige, and it just looks like he does not have anything he can respond with. But he's going to go ahead and get the Red Hawk, which is okay to follow up with for sure in the response of the next turn, so he can get rid of a blocker. But I think he's going to go ahead and attach everything he can to that Zoro and try to get over for sure. So he went ahead and did the recyclable Nami onto the Zoro, and then he attached what seems like 3 additional Dawn, making him a 9k, and he's going to go 9, which obviously gets blocked, and then he goes another 9, which gets blocked again. Following back up to the Kid player, we're going to go ahead and refresh every Dawn back. And honestly, he has a Beige in hand if I remember correctly. So honestly, I think that's going to come out immediately. But let's see what he does. He goes 5 to Zoro. Ooh, because he knows he has no active Dawn, he wants to just go ahead and see if he wants to save it. And he does with the Nico Robin. Pays the 1 for the Bonnie search, maybe to see if he can get any more blockers or anything good in response, which there's 2 of them right there. So I think it's going to come down to what he has in hand and what he wants to add. And he's going to actually go for the counter. Interesting. Oh, no, switches it up to the Penguin. Makes sense. Let's see. So he's going to go ahead and pay another Dawn for the Momonosuke, seeing what he can get off of that. And Okiku's a really solid choice, especially in a red-green Law matchup. So now that he has the Beige, he has the Sachi. He's going to go ahead and rest up quite a bit of Dawn to play the X-Drake. And X-Drake is just going to go ahead and get rid of the Zoro, so he doesn't even have to attack over it and worry about that in the follow-up. He's going to swing 9 to leader. And he's going to take the life. That's the first life actually for Law. He still has 3 life to go with. He's going to play the 1 for Beige. Smart move. And pass it up. Now this is going to be really interesting to see how Law responds to this. He has no Zoro. He just has 1 blocker, 2 Nami searchers, and the recyclable. And he plays another recyclable, so he can get those 2 additional Dawn reusable. And he pays the 5 for the Law. Let's see what he wants to bounce. I think it'd be really smart to bounce the Nami. Yep, to play Nami again to see what he can search off of. I think he wants to go for it. There's a Jet Pistol. There's that Luffy. It's going to be really, really good to play that Luffy right now, but he can't because he paid the 5 for Law. So let's see how he wants to respond. And an interesting thing he runs in that deck is Round Table, which would really get over the Kid for sure, but because he has that Beige blocker, it's going to be really, really hard. So he definitely has options. I would personally go for the Round Table, try to swing something weak to that Kid right now, maybe get rid of the Beige blocker, and then in the follow-up, oh, but he actually goes for the Jet Pistol. Interesting. I think he doesn't have an Otama in hand, so it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what he's going with for him. And he's gonna go ahead and Jet Pistol to Beige. Interesting. Okay, I can kind of see where he may be trying to go with that. He's gonna go ahead and probably attach the rest of that Dawn to either his blocker Law, which would be just an extra 1k, and he does that for sure, making him 9 to that Kid, which obviously just gets countered with Izo easily, which is really, really rough for that Law player for sure. With 1 less blocker and no Dawn active once more, it's going to be really hard to clap back against. Going ahead and refresh everything back for sure. Let's see what he wants to do to finish this game off, because honestly this looks like a really solid game state for sure, especially with 4 attacks that can possibly be put in. He has the Law block, but he wants to go ahead and search for Bonnie. Yeah, Law has that Law block on field, so it kind of wants to see how he can probably get over that. And Bonnie searching Bonnie, pretty typical. 1 for the Momonosuke. Searching top 5 again. Ooh, it was a nice little Yamato right there. Yep, doesn't even hesitate. I don't even blame him, honestly. Now, does he want to play the Yamato, or does he want to go more on the defensive for that Kid once more? Which he can definitely play the Sachi with Kid, but I think he wants to go aggressive and swing with it. And he's going to go ahead and go 9 to face, which he takes a life of once more. Oh, didn't even see that. His trigger was the jet pistol, which got rid of his X-Drake, which is really, really great, honestly. And let's see what he wants to do now. He does have another 8 cost in his hand. Didn't even see that there. That's going to be really rough if he has to decide to play the second one. He pays a 3 for a hard play of Sachi. And he passes after swinging 9 to face with Kid. Really, really interesting to see what Law does to respond to this, because he does once again have another blocker. He's going to go ahead and play over the Search Nami for another Search Nami. Let's see if he gets that really beautiful blessing card. Oh, he goes for the unblockable Luffy. So he wants to go aggressive, hard on that Kid. It's going to be really hard to follow up with, especially when the Kid player does have a good amount of counters in hand for sure. But he does have the 2 Nami recyclables, so he puts those down onto Luffy, making him 8 off rip. He still has quite a bit of Don active. Let's see if he wants to just go full aggression onto that Kid and kind of basically pay his turn to get rid of it. Ooh, he wants to go ahead and divvy out. Okay, that's a nice way to go about it. So he's going to go ahead and go 10-2, which gets blocked. I think honestly he should have probably attacked with the Luffy first. But hey, oh, he wants to go 9 to that Kid, and I think it's going to probably get countered off. And it sure does, with the 2 searchers. Looking really, really rough for that Law player for sure. And he passes. I think he realized that he kind of oofed up there on the swing. I think it would have been better to swing with the unblockable to see how his response would have been, and then from there to swing afterwards. Going back to the Kid player, he has full down. He wants to go ahead and swing 8 to face, considering he used his blocker to go ahead and try to get rid of that Kid, and he's going to take that last life. Now, honestly, this is the game state right here. He's going to attach everything damn near over to the Kid, swing the face, and that is game. And that's going to conclude today's matchup of Law versus Kid. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on the match and what you felt like each player could have done a little bit differently to get a better outcome. I know me personally, I found it very interesting that the Kid player wanted to take the 3 life very early on, and they had the blockers on board, and to have the searchers on board and not really search into a later game state. I kind of understand where it's coming from, because you know, with that you may just search for when you need something rather than when you just want something. So it's an interesting thought process for sure. I think in a different matchup he probably would have searched a little bit earlier, but I mean, regardless, he came with the dub. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you felt as though stuff could have been done differently. And I mean, without further ado, know that the One Piece is real, know that you have love over here, and y'all have a blessed starting of the year. Peace.